Hi guys, welcome. My name is Dasha. I live in Russia and that rhymes and I don't like it. But that's probably just because most of the time I don't associate myself. I don't think of myself as being Russian. Well, especially in the area that I work with. My journey in the self-development area started when I was very young, when I was like 13 years old. My parents began working in this, what's it called? Network marketing company. And they started reading a lot of books that were so different from what we all know, from what a lot of people still know in Russia, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, How to Achieve Your Dreams, How to Believe in Your Dreams, and all this stuff. Louise Hay was a very big part of my self-love journey. And yeah, even though it started so early in my life, it's usual, for people, we go back and forth, and until we fully decide, make conscious decision to go down that road, it's usually like just going back and forth, and we get back to those books or recordings and we listen to something and we implement something, and then we forget about it for the next 2 years. And when we find ourselves deep in not very nice circumstances in our life, we all of a sudden remember, wait a second, I used to feel better and live better when I was listening to Louise Hay, for example, or Tony Robbins, and you get back to it. So this is how it was for me till I was 28 years old. When I was 28, I quit my job. I began streaming on Twitch. I realized that I never, ever, ever want to work for anyone else ever again. And I realized that it was time to change something in my life. And so I got back to Louise Hay because she was the only one I could remember about, honestly, at that time. And because over the years, her teachings resonated with me the most. And so I started doing, I took things seriously this time. I made that conscious decision that my life is never gonna be the same. And I have this belief of how new teachings start working in your life when you just, how Brian Tracy says that you need to read 250 books in some area before you can consider yourself, not a master, but good at it, at least good at it. And this is what I think. I think that when you start something new, you need to read a lot and listen a lot and just gather a lot of information. And I see it like this, like you have this roof over your head, for example, and when you add some knowledge, when you start listening to something that is absolutely completely different from what you've heard before, it's really hard for you to accept that because there are a lot of things in your reality that are not like that. You have lived in a different reality all this time. And so when you listen and listen and listen and read more of this stuff, your roof begins to break a little bit. And the amount of knowledge, of new knowledge that you want to implement in your life should be so heavy and so big that it just breaks your roof and it just flows in. Then you have this insights. Then you finally start understanding how things are and you start accepting things. And this is when it is easy for you to implement them and to notice these things, when you finally are open for this knowledge. And so this is what I decided to do. I decided to listen to a lot of things, to, all the recordings of Louise Hay's workshops that I could find on YouTube and read all the books that I have because I had some and then I bought a bunch more. And I started actually doing mirror work. Mirror work is really powerful. And one day I was on Kitty Play's stream. Kitty Place is this Canadian streamer who moved to LA, and she was answering common questions about how she changed her life and something like that. And she mentioned Esther Hicks and her book Ask and It Is Given, her and Jerry Hicks's book. She said that this book basically changed her life. And this was the first time I've heard about Esther Hicks. So I found an interview on Oprah's radio or something with Esther Hicks, and where Esther was explaining in detail who is Abraham Hicks. And After that, I spent like 3 to 4 months listening to Abraham Hicks on YouTube daily. Whatever questions I had about life, about religion, about everything, about like manifestation, I just learned that word, manifesting. I was listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks and it all resonated. A lot of things got clear to me and it just worked. And I remember I cried a lot because the reality that Abraham Hicks explained was so easy, was so, relieving, so freeing. It was the time of a very big transformation within me, in my mind. And back then, I finally understood, I finally believed that feeling that I had inside, that things get to be easy, that things don't have to be that hard and that terrible. And it was just, it was incredible. I felt so inspired. I felt so happy. And so after that, I just went on iTunes podcast. No, what's it called? Apple Podcast. And I began looking for every podcast that mentions the law of attraction and manifestation. I found a lot of podcasts and I began listening to them. And for the next 3 years until now, I still do that. I still listen to podcasts on mindfulness, manifestation, law of attraction, all this stuff every day, almost every day, not almost every day, honestly. And so ever since that time, I began changing my life. Honestly, I would say not so much because my life began changing just in the end of 2020. But for these changes, for visible changes in life to occur, we all know we need to first change our mindset. And it took me 2 years to start acting. But I just took my time and I just couldn't understand some things. And I want to tell you that it happened faster for me, because I imagine newbies in this area, on the subject of the law of attraction, listening to me and saying, oh, what, 2 years? Seriously? It will take me 2 years? When we start working on this, we want changes fast. And for some, they do happen fast. I guess it just depends on how open you are to these new ideas and how ready you are to implement them, to do the practices. And I guess I wasn't ready. I was lost back then because I was all my life I was a good girl who was a people pleaser, and I used to do what my mom would tell me to do. And my mom is a very strong woman and she always had a vision of what people should do. She has very strong opinion about a lot of things. And I can't say that she was trying to break me, because no mom ever wants to do that to her child, but she was very strong. And many times when I was not sure, when I felt the calling, I wanted something different in my life, she had a better idea and my dad had a better idea of who I should be and what I should do and blah 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 and all the stuff. And we all live in a society where there is a lot of fear and where people try to do their best to pass their fears to the younger ones, to save them, And I felt the calling that I wanted to do something good. I wanted to help animals. I wanted to become a journalist. I wanted to become a psychologist and all this. But my parents had an opinion that, you don't earn enough money if you do that. But since I was resisting anything else, my dad he didn't really want, but he used to say often that, accountants make a better living than we all are. And he wanted me to become an accountant. And it was just so far from what I wanted that my mom offered me to do one thing, to study one thing in the university that I was at least a little bit interested in, and it was English. And God, it was the best decision in her life, I guess. And I'm very grateful for this. And right now I can say that I'm grateful to my mom for this. But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was devastated because, it was a good decision, but it was not my decision. It was not what I would do. I would go study journalism and I would go study psychology. And I felt like my mom made me do this, and I graduated because I didn't want to disappoint my parents. Right now, I'm so grateful that I speak English fluently, because honestly, all the information I get, all the podcasts I listen to, they are in English. And in Russia, we don't have that much information about this. This is why a few days ago, I wrote a post on my English Instagram. I wrote a post where I said that I finally realized how to be bilingual because it was causing a lot of trouble for me for the past, I guess, 3 years too, because when I started streaming on Twitch, I had English speaking viewers and Russian speaking viewers, and I just couldn't make a decision on how to be bilingual on social media, because I began sharing these ideas about the law of attraction, about self-love, and translating everything into 2 languages was a pain, took too much energy and too much work, and I just didn't want to do this. And I've been struggling with this for the past 3 years. So, and a few days ago, I finally realized, I finally accepted, I did an oracle card reading. I got these oracle cards that helped me a lot, and I'm like, oh my god, where have you been all my life? And so with the help of those cards, I realized my role in an English-speaking community, self-development community, and in a Russian-speaking self-development community. I realized that in English, I am a student, I'm a co-student, I'm a classmate. There is so much information. There are so many amazing coaches, spiritual teachers I learn from, and the knowledge I get is just so incredible. I'm so grateful I speak English. Oh my god. And in Russian, I am a teacher, because people don't know about this stuff. People still believe that loving yourself means being selfish, and that talking about money and wanting more money is something terrible that should not be discussed. And a lot of people just don't know what it means to set healthy boundaries, because setting boundaries is bad and selfish too. And I can't set boundaries with these people because they are my family, and I should let them just be rude to me and whatever. Like, people just don't know this stuff, and a lot of times I just sound like an alien to a lot of people when I speak about this. And I realized that I choose to be a teacher of this, of the law of attraction, of self-love, of self-development and inner work and spiritual work in Russian, because in English there are so many people who explain it better than I ever will, and people who I learn from. And for me it's just easy to just share the resources with you guys, so you would just go and listen to or read things from the original resource. So what was I saying? Like, why did I begin the story? I just can't remember anymore. And so I want to get back to that. It took me 2 years to actually start implementing changes in my life. Oh yeah, and I remembered why am I talking about my parents and the law of attraction and all this. So I was a people pleaser, and when I began this inner work journey, I realized that for a long time I thought I didn't have intuition at all. Like, I don't hear it. What is it? It's foreign to me. Like, God didn't give me one. And like, when I began listening to all the podcasts and Abraham Hicks, I realized that I have it. I have this inner voice. I have this inner guidance in me that knows better, that tells me what to do. Like, I have these hints, I have these desires in me, but I've learned to suppress them because I just learned over my life to believe that I just don't know shit, that grown-ups know better because they lived longer. And 2 years ago, I was just so pissed and so sick and tired of people having an idea of what I should do. And I just didn't want to do anything. This is why I needed a lot of time. It took me a lot of time to just listen to Abraham and listen to all the coaches. Viola Hag played a big role in my self-development journey. Who else? Amanda Francis. I love Amanda Francis. I really want to work with her. I will work with her at some point. The Luscious Hustle podcast, the girls really helped me too with a lot of things, with how to believe in myself, But basically, I needed a lot of time to just listen and not do what they say to do, because I was not ready, because I still felt like you tell me what to do, and I don't want to do that. And so I was listening to a lot of things, and I was doing mirror work, and step by step, just over some time, I began coming out of my shell and actually implementing things, little things. And that's when I started my YouTube channel. That's when I began talking about the law of attraction and mindfulness on my Insta. And I was so scared at first, because I thought that especially if I talk about this in Russian, people are gonna judge me, because in my mind, every Russian would think that, oh, now you're talking about this woo-woo crap. And yeah, I was very scared, and I would record my first video about why is it important to feel good, and I just felt like I cried. I edited it and cried because I thought that it's just too personal and I can't publish it. But I did. And so, step by step, it became easier. It became easier to just speak my mind, speak my truth. And for a long time, I just couldn't feel good. And this is what I talk about in the first 3 of my videos. And when I say that the first visible changes in my life happened in the end of 2020, I mean that in the end of 2020, I finally felt ready to take my relationship, back then it was long distance relationship, to a new level. And I sold my apartment, and I got rid of the mortgage and all the debt, and I just moved to a different city and got married. And this is what I would call visible changes. My cat says hi. But before that, there were a lot of work too, a lot of practices I implemented, a lot of things I shifted, a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of forgiveness was done during that period of time. I started my YouTube channel. I started my second YouTube channel because the first one was in Russian, and then there was an English one. I hired my first coach. I started my second Instagram account where I began speaking just English. I started my blog. A lot of things. I just learned how to speak my truth, how to be authentic, how to uncover more and more fears and shift them, and learn to talk to people and even teach people. I would say coach, but I've felt this resistance for a long time that I didn't want to be a coach. I wanted to be a teacher, and I felt like there is a big difference. And there is a big difference between a coach and a teacher. And actually during that time, I began receiving feedback finally. When I learned how to be authentic, when I learned how to, teach, how to preach, how to talk about the law of attraction, mindfulness, self-love, boundaries, and how to love yourself deeper and believe in your dreams and actually understand what you want in life. When I began talking about this openly, I began receiving feedback, and I began hearing from people that my teachings help, and what I talk about help and inspires people to make changes in their lives. And it often happens now that people change their lives and they do some pretty big steps, and then they tell me about this, that I listen to your videos, watch your videos, listen to your teachings, and I changed something, and now I'm ready to tell you about this. So in the moment when I write this stuff or record this stuff, I don't know how it's gonna change people's lives and if it's gonna or not. And this is so cool to see that what I do helps, and I'm just so incredibly grateful for that. And so here's where I'm at now. I learn so much stuff, and this is where I'm going, to a better life, to understanding myself more, to loving myself deeper, and to making my life better and people's lives better. And I just felt like I wanted to share a lot of things with you. And I want to share it regularly, because when I postpone stuff, when I just learn and not share, I feel like I want to explode, that I'm gonna explode, because there's too much information, and then I can't remember exactly what I learned. And yeah, I just was looking for a format to just share what I learned on the go, and this is what I'm gonna do. You guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.